Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Well, thank you very much. And how good is Mark?
Mark's on fire tonight. There's no doubt about it.
He's on fire.
That's why I call him the Great One. I want to start. We have an election in 117 days, Mr. President, and, you know, your campaign came out with an ad. The issue of law and order and safety and security are now key in this country. We'll go over Joe Biden's comments, but your campaign released this ad. I'm of the view that nobody pursues happiness if you're not safe and secure. Let's roll tape.
You have reached the 911 police emergency line. Due to defunding of the police department, we're sorry, but no one is here to take your call. If you're calling to report a rape, please press 1. To report a murder, press 2. To report a home invasion, press 3. For all other crimes, leave your name and number, and someone will get back to you. Our estimated wait time is currently 5 days. Goodbye.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Mr. President, I'm going to read the comments of Joe Biden, if I may. He said, surplus military equipment for law enforcement. By the way, they used it in Ferguson and Baltimore. They don't need that. The last thing you need is an up-armored Humvee coming into a neighborhood. I haven't noticed that. It's like a military invading. They don't know anybody. They've become the enemy. They're supposed to be protecting the people. Then asked about funding. Do you agree we can redirect the funding? Absolutely. Okay. Mr. President, I would argue that no American could be happy if they're not safe and secure or pursue happiness without safety and security.
Well, I agree with that 100%. And we need safety. We need security. We can't defund our police, and we can't abolish our police. They want to abolish our police. And as far as the surplus equipment, I've given out hundreds of millions of dollars. This is stuff that was sitting in storage houses all over the country. It wasn't even old, but it was never going to be used again. It was gathering dust, and I gave it out to all of our police forces all over the country, saved many, many police lives, and many lives, I think, period. It was really, a lot of it was protective equipment, and I know that President Obama and Biden didn't want to give it out. They thought it was terrible to give it out. It made the police look too strong, and I gave it out, and I have been thanked by every police department.
Mr. President, while the Summer of Love zone turned into a shooting zone, and I'm going to run some videotape. One is a man shot while walking a 6-year-old little girl in the Bronx in New York, assassinated in broad daylight. Another, a gunman opened fire in a Bronx apartment building. Then I'll show on this very show live, our own Steve Harrigan interviewing protesters that took over a city block in Atlanta. That resulted in the death of an 8-year-old girl 2 weeks later. You see what's happening. Shootings up, violent crime is up, murder is up, 130% shootings up in New York City. You see the statistics in Chicago every weekend. How do you react to that?
Well, first of all, New York City is not recognizable. Crime is way up. Shootings are way up. Murder is way up. It's just unbelievable. Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, and we are looking at it very seriously because we're going to have to do something. We've asked them, we're really supposed to be asked to come in and help the federal government, and we have the greatest people in the world, and we can solve it. But we're supposed to be asked, so the mayor or the governor of Illinois should be asking, but they don't want to ask. And you look every weekend, and every week in Chicago, it's just numbers that are not believable. Atlanta's starting to have some problems. So we're ready to act, and at some point we may have to act anyway. We may have to do it sooner rather than later.
Let's talk about the issue of acting. I had a source that told me, I was not able to confirm it, that one of the reasons that the Seattle mayor finally acted is that they were given notice that if they didn't act, that you were going to. Is there any truth to that?
100%. We were going in very soon. We let them know that, and they all of a sudden, they didn't want that. So they went in before we got there, but we were going in very shortly, very soon, and we would have taken the chop, I call it chop. We would have taken it back very easily, but they went in, and frankly, the people just gave up. They were tired. They had it for a long period of time, but because of the fact that we were going to go in. Now, if you look at Minneapolis, after 4 or 5 days of horror, we called them. We said, you got to get out the National Guard. We insisted that they do it. When the National Guard finally got out, They walked through it like a knife goes through butter. That was the end of their problem. That was it. It was a great job done by the National Guard. And, yeah, we were all set to go into Seattle. Frankly, I looked forward to it.
Mr. President, Joe Biden was vice president for 8 years. Barack Obama's hometown is Chicago. Every weekend, we get these statistics. Lawrence Jones, who is our 2020 reporter on this program, actually interviewed the father. He lost a 7-year-old little girl. I don't know how you recover from something like that. But Biden and Barack Obama, President Obama, Vice President Biden, they barely ever talked about the violence in Barack Obama's hometown. What specifically can you do? I know you've offered to help New York City. I know you've offered to help Chicago. I know you offered to help Seattle. I know you did help Minneapolis and you did help D.C. But when they keep refusing your help, what are your options?
So first of all, I saw the interview, and he was a lovely man. I spoke to him at length and with his friend, who's a great guy, too.
Horace Lorenzo Anderson, yes, sir. His son
I
killed.
actually invited them down to the White House at some point when they get adjusted, because it is so tough. I mean, what he's going through is so tough. And he was treated very badly. They didn't even tell him what had happened, when it had happened. Very sad thing. But I did speak to him, and I had a great but very sad conversation. And so he'll be coming down when he's ready. He'll be coming down to the White House. I will say, look, they have to be tough. They have to be smart. What's going on there? And, the Chicago police is terrific. The New York police, New York's finest, they're just not being allowed to do their job. They don't want to do anything because they'll end up with lots of bad things happening to them. They're not letting them do the job. And I dealt a lot with Mayor de Blasio. I was very nice to Mayor de Blasio. I got him ventilators when he needed them. I got him hospital help when he needed it. I got him everything he needed. I got him the gowns. I got him the masks. I got him everything, the shields. I got that man everything. I spoke to him many times. He couldn't have been nicer. And then he throws a big Black Lives Matter sign right down in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and all merchants along Fifth Avenue are furious. They're furious. And the whole city is furious. The city is a city that's enraged. And but
nobody's safe.
It was almost a test, Sean. But I was so good to him and to Governor Cuomo like nobody's ever been good. And all you end up doing out of that place is get prosecuted and have a lot of trouble. So New York is not the place that it was. Everyone's leaving. They're moving to Florida. They're moving to other places. It's very sad, actually, to see what happened.
To be honest, I'm the only idiot that stays here. I need to get my contract changed so I can get the hell out of here myself, to be honest. In 1984,